His Excellency Francis. I now invite His Excellency Musa Faki, Chairperson of the African Union Commission.
Your Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda and the Chair of the 19th Summit of Head of State and Government of Non-Aligned Movement. Your Excellencies, Head of State, Government and Delegation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to begin my statement by thanking His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, for hosting this 19th Summit of the Non-Aligned Movement here in this beautiful city of Kampala, the capital of the Pearl of Africa. My thanks go to the good people and government of Uganda for making all necessary efforts to ensure a successful summit. I also wish to take this opportunity to thank all head of state and government of NAM for their participation in this important high-level meeting. This summit is timely as it takes place under the theme Deepening Cooperation for Shared Global Affluence. It is indeed an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to strengthen our cooperation on the basis of a strategic partnership that endeavors to maintain peace, security, and development while expressing grave concern over the challenges posed by the continued prevalence of conflicts, terrorism, and security and instability in some parts of our regions. A stark example today is the war in Gaza. Africa condemns this unacceptable moral, legal, and humanitarian failure and demands an immediate end to the unjust war against the Palestinian people and for the immediate implementation of the two-state solution. I again express the African Union's full and unwavering support to the Palestinian people, and as a non-aligned movement, we should all demand a stand for international justice and international law for all people fighting for freedom and dignity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, during the early days of the movement, its actions were key factors in the decolonization process, while later led to the attainment of freedom and independence of many countries across the globe. Throughout its history, the non-aligned movement has played a fundamental role in the preservation of world peace and security. You would agree with me, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that the founders of NAM have preferred to declare it as a movement instead of an organization in order to avoid bureaucratic implications of the latter and to reinforce its values as a movement for political and social justice. The membership criteria formulated during the preparatory conference in Cairo, Egypt in 1961 shows that the movement was not conceived to play a passive role in the international politics, but to formulate its own positions in an independent manner so as to reflect the interests of its member states. Much has been achieved, but we continue to face many challenges, old and new. Current challenges facing NAM include the necessity of protecting the principles of international law, eliminating weapons of mass destruction, combating terrorism, defending human rights, working towards making the United Nations more effective in meeting the needs of all its member states in order to preserve international peace, security, and development, as well as justice in the international economic system. The climate change crisis is a new but urgent global challenge. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Africa has surmounted numerous challenges in the past from which the continent has learned key lessons as it gears up to build the Africa we want and the Africa we deserve, as outlined in our Continental Development Agenda, Agenda 2063. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement, launched by the African Union, represents a global market of more than 1.3 billion people to boost intra-African trade, but also with the world to deepen cooperation for shared affluence. Despite this progress made, many African countries are still facing different forms and magnifications of terrorism, as well as transnational organized crime that risk to undo the important developmental gains on the continent. Africa is now a member of the G20, a key global platform to express the views of the continent with the rest of the world. However, the reform of international global political, financial, and economic institutions to ensure global equity remains a priority for Africa and the global South. Today, I wish to seek the support of all members of non-aligned movement to the efforts of African Union to reform the UN Security Council. Africa, assuming permanent seat in the UNSC, will contribute to the global stability, peace, security, and sustainable development. That is why efforts shall continue to achieve this African dream of securing 2 permanent seats within the UN Security Council. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, the non-aligned movement, faced with the goals yet to be reached and the many new challenges that are arising, is called upon to maintain a prominent and leading role in the current international relations in defense of the interests and priorities of its member states and for achievement of peace and security for mankind. Once again, I would like, on behalf of the African Union, to express our appreciation to His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for the invitation extended to us to be part of this important summit. I wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you for your kind attention.
I wish to thank His Excellency Moussa Faki for his statement. I now give the floor to Mr. Yilmaz, Vice President of Turkey. He's a special guest.
Your Excellency Chair, Excellencies, dear colleagues, it's a pleasure for me to be in Kampala and to address the 19th Summit of the Non-Aligned Movement. Let me begin by conveying to you the warm greetings of His Excellency President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and people of Turkey. I sincerely thank our Ugandan brothers and sisters for their kind invitation and excellent hospitality. We wish them all the success throughout their chairmanship. I also extend Turkey's heartfelt congratulations to Azerbaijan, who has successfully concluded its crucial role at the helm of the NAM. Ladies and gentlemen, throughout its history, the non-aligned movement has been one of the prominent flag bearers for a peaceful, just, and credible international order. In the 6 decades that passed, the world has witnessed many atrocities. Yet the devastation inflicted on Palestinians since 7 October by the indiscriminate attacks of Israel in Gaza has been unprecedented in many aspects. UN Security Council has been paralyzed due to its inherent flaws and has failed even to call for a ceasefire. Thankfully, the overwhelming majority of the international community reject this injustice. We follow closely the proceedings before the International Court of Justice initiated by South Africa, which recently held hearings on the case against Israel made under the Genocide Convention in relation to Israel's actions against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. As for ongoing relief efforts, Turkey stands among the leading nations in delivering life-saving humanitarian aid to Gaza, with close to 6,000 tons of aid to Al Arish by air and sea. The unfolding crisis has made one thing crystal clear: there can be no lasting peace in the Middle East without settling the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We believe that a lasting solution can be possible through embodiment of an independent, sovereign, and geographically contiguous state of Palestine based on 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. The prevention of the conflict turning into a regional war is another priority. This is our main message to all relevant parties, both within the region and beyond, in order to keep the situation restrained. Ladies and gentlemen, while the war in Gaza has shifted the global attention to the Middle East, the war in Ukraine is still going on fiercely, shaking the foundations of global security. Establishing a peace, prosperity, and stability belt in our vicinity, as well as around the world, is an important component of our foreign policy. To this effect, we are using our political and diplomatic channels effectively for the peaceful resolution of global and regional problems. A prominent example is the Black Sea Grain Initiative, with which we brought together Ukraine, Russia, and the UN to avert a global food crisis. We are now working with UN, Ukraine, and Russia on additional measures. On the other hand, Turkey contributes to the prosperity and stability of the African continent, in line with our African solutions to African problems principle. But to achieve that, we need to ensure that security and stability are restored in Sudan, Libya, Somalia, and elsewhere. With its wide diplomatic network and political determination, Turkey is well suited as a problem solver, system improver, and transformer actor in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Excellencies, dear colleagues, peace and security are the basic pillars of development. As you all know, terrorism is one of the global challenges to development and democracy, which threaten our common future. We have long been simultaneously fighting against multiple terrorist organizations such as PKK, FETÖ, Daesh, and Al-Qaeda. The eradication of all terrorist organizations permanently is an essential part of Turkey's national security strategy. It is also a necessity for ensuring peace and security in our region. Knowing that the fight against terrorism requires coherent and long-term international cooperation, we will remain at the forefront in mobilizing global action in our common fight against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Excellencies, the theme that our Ugandan friends choose for this summit, deepening cooperation for shared global affluence, precisely overlaps with Turkey's vision and aspiration in its foreign relations. As one of the leading countries in development and humanitarian assistance, Turkey will continue its solidarity with its region and beyond, with the principle of leaving no one behind. Our motto, "The world is bigger than five," captures the international community's rightful call for just, effective, and strengthened multilateralism with the UN at its heart. A more and fair world is possible. This is also what this movement stands for. In conclusion, let me assure you that Turkey will continue to support non-aligned movement members in their quest for sustained peace, stability, and development across the globe. I would like to express my gratitude to President Museveni for hosting the NAM summit, and I would like to thank all the delegates for their contributions.